Chipo had been dreaming of that red BMW for years. In Lusaka, she worked long hours, taking extra shifts, skipping nights out, and saving every single kwacha. The day she finally bought it, she felt like all her sacrifices had been worth it. That car wasn't just metal and wheels. It was her proof that hard work pays off, that she could stand on her own without depending on anyone. But one afternoon when she walked into the yard, her stomach dropped. The driveway was empty. At first, she thought maybe she had parked somewhere else, or maybe a friend borrowed it. She ran inside, panic written all over her face, and asked her parents where her car was. Her mother didn't even look guilty. She just adjusted her wrapper and said calmly, "We sold it, Chipo. We needed money for Leia's wedding dress and jewelry." Her father added as if it was nothing, "You'll buy another car. But your sister only gets married once." The word stabbed like a knife. Chipo stood frozen, her chest tight, her eyes burning. That car had cost her years of sweat, yet her parents had taken it away like it was nothing, like she was nothing. She wanted to scream but no sound came out. Instead, she forced a bitter smile, her heart breaking in silence. She realized then that she could never rely on them, never expect fairness. While they celebrated Leia, they had stolen from her. Chipo didn't argue. She simply whispered to herself, "One day they'll regret this." And from that moment, her revenge began to take shape. The wedding rehearsal in Lusaka was supposed to be a happy moment for the family, but for Chipo, it felt like walking into a battlefield. The hall was filled with music, laughter, and people buzzing around with excitement for Leia's big day. Yet, the moment Chipo stepped inside, whispers started. She could feel eyes turning toward her, and soon the jokes began. "Ah, Chipo," one uncle chuckled loudly. "Maybe one day you'll own a car again. But for now, just be proud that your sister drives yours." The whole table burst into laughter. Another cousin added, "Yes, at least your car is still in the family." The sound of their mocking claps stung her ears. And then Leia appeared, dressed in her shiny rehearsal outfit, swinging the BMW keys around her fingers like a trophy. She walked past Chipo with a smirk and said just loud enough for everyone to hear, "Thanks for the car, sister. It looks better with me anyway." Her friends giggled behind her, taking pictures for Instagram. Chipo's heart clenched, but she didn't let them see her pain. She pulled out her phone and quietly pressed record. Every insult, every laugh, every word from Leia bragging about the car, captured. No one noticed. They thought she was powerless, but Chipo knew better. That night, while the house was silent, Chipo sat on her bed and opened her laptop. She checked her side business accounts, her small logistics hustle that everyone had once mocked. To her shock, the numbers had tripled. Her investments in cross-border trade were paying off. The balance staring back at her screen was more than she had ever imagined. For the first time in weeks, Chipo smiled. They thought she had lost everything, but she was already building something far bigger. As Leia slept, dreaming about her wedding, Chipo was awake, plotting her rise. The power shift had quietly begun, and soon the whole family would see it. The family dinner was supposed to be warm, but for Chipo it felt like sitting at a table full of strangers. The smell of roasted chicken filled the room, glasses clinked, and everyone seemed cheerful, except her. She sat quietly, pushing food around her plate, her heart heavy with the weight of everything unsaid. Finally, she couldn't hold it in anymore. She looked straight at her parents and asked, her voice steady but sharp, "Why is it that everything I do, every sacrifice I make never counts? I worked for years to buy that car. And you sold it like my hard work meant nothing." The table went silent for a moment, but only for a moment. Her mother sighed as if she was tired of the question. "Chipo, stop acting dramatic. Your sister is more important right now. She's starting her marriage. You'll survive without a car." Her father nodded, barely glancing at her. "You're strong. You'll figure it out. Don't make a big issue out of this." Chipo felt her chest tighten. She looked around and saw some relatives smirking, others avoiding her eyes. She gave a bitter laugh, shaking her head. "So that's it. I don't matter. Everything I do is invisible to you. Fine." She leaned back in her chair and added in a calm but cutting tone, "You'll regret underestimating me. I promise you that." Her parents exchanged a look and shrugged. Her mother waved her hand like brushing away dust. "Stop with the big words, cheapo. You always talk too much." The dismissal burned more than the theft. They didn't believe her, didn't even see her as a threat. But in that moment, Cheapo's pain turned into fuel. She stopped arguing. She smiled quietly to herself, and inside she made a vow. She would rise so high that one day, they would choke on their own words. After that painful dinner, Cheapo stopped wasting her energy arguing with her family. Instead, she poured every bit of her strength into her small logistics business. What started as 2 old delivery bikes, running errands and dropping packages around Lusaka, soon became her obsession. She worked long nights, waking up before sunrise, meeting clients, and personally making sure every order was on time. While her family laughed at her little hustle, Cheapo was busy building. Every kwacha she earned, she reinvested. She bought better bikes, hired young riders, and expanded her customer base. Soon, shops and small businesses began calling her first whenever they needed deliveries. Her reputation for honesty and speed spread like fire. Within months, she saw an opportunity that others ignored: cross-border trade. Goods needed to move between Zambia and Botswana, and transport companies were unreliable or too expensive. Cheapo decided to take the risk. She rented her first truck with a little savings she had, and when it worked, she invested again. Soon, her small company grew from 2 bikes to a fleet of trucks moving goods across borders. Each deal she made, each contract she signed, was like a silent victory against the people who had stolen from her. Every time she saw her account balance rise, she remembered her parents' words, "You'll survive without a car." Now she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. Quietly, Cheapo became wealthier than her entire family combined. She didn't show it yet, didn't brag, didn't buy flashy things. She kept her success hidden, like a weapon she would use at the right time. While Leia flaunted her stolen BMW, Cheapo was building an empire brick by brick. And deep inside she smiled, knowing the day of reckoning was getting closer. Leia loved attention, and with Cheapo's car now in her hands, she felt like a queen. At every family gathering, she made sure people noticed the shiny BMW keys dangling from her fingers. "Even my car is mine because I'm loved more than Cheapo," she would laugh, tossing her hair as her friends giggled and clapped. They snapped pictures of her leaning against the car, posting them online with captions like "bride goals" and "spoiled sister energy." Each photo felt like a knife twisting deeper into Cheapo's heart, but she never reacted. She just watched. What Leia didn't understand was that the car wasn't free. Their parents had taken a loan against it, promising to pay it back. At first, the family thought it would be easy. After all, Cheapo was always the one covering bills, helping out and saving the day. Surely she would step in again, right? But this time, Cheapo stayed quiet. She saw the letters arriving, the creditors calling, the stress beginning to build. Her mother whispered to her father late at night about missed payments, but they never told Leia. They wanted her to keep smiling, showing off, living her fantasy, while the debt piled higher and higher. Meanwhile, Cheapo was already 2 steps ahead. She had collected proof of the car sale, the loan documents, and even Leia's bragging videos online. Piece by piece, she was setting a trap so perfect that none of them would see it coming. Leia thought she was untouchable, loved and favored beyond measure. But what she didn't know was that every boast, every picture, every careless word was only tightening the rope around her neck. And Cheapo, calm and patient, was waiting for the right moment to pull. It happened on a hot afternoon in Lusaka when the knock on the door came. Cheapo's parents opened it to find 2 men in suits standing outside, holding thick folders. Their tone was cold and direct. "We are here for repayment. The loan deadline has passed." Her mother's smile faded instantly. Her father tried to act calm, inviting them inside. The men laid out the papers on the table, pointing at the figures in bold red ink. The debt was huge, and the interest had doubled. Panic filled the room. Her parents immediately looked at Cheapo, almost as if on cue. Her mother said softly, "Cheapo, you've always been the responsible one. Please just pay this." "We know you can," her father added firmly. "Yes, you earn good money. You can clear this quickly. It's for family." But this time Chipo did not bend. She pulled out her own folder from her bag and placed it next to theirs. Calmly she said, "I didn't sign for this loan. I didn't sell my car. You did. And whoever signed is the one responsible to pay." She opened the documents, photocopies of the car sale agreement, with her father's signature clear as day. Then the loan papers, with her mother's name printed neatly. Chipo's voice was steady but sharp. "The debt isn't mine. It belongs to you." The room went silent. Her mother's face turned pale, her father's hands trembled. They had always assumed Chipo would rescue them like before, that she would cover their mistakes because she feared shame. But now she had turned the mirror back on them. The creditors leaned forward. "So, repayment must come from you, not her." Her parents stuttered, trying to explain, but the evidence was undeniable. For the first time, they realized Chipo was no longer their safety net. She wasn't weak, and she wasn't afraid. Chipo sat back, watching their faces fall, and whispered inside her heart, "This is only the beginning." The family party in Kitwe was full of noise, laughter, and the clinking of glasses. Relatives danced, children ran around, and music played in the background. But as always, Chipo could hear the whispers that followed her everywhere. "She's useless," one aunt muttered loudly enough for others to hear. "Always working, but what does she have to show for it?" Another cousin smirked and added, "She's just jealous of Leia. Look at Leia. Married, beautiful, driving a BMW. Chipo will die with her little jobs." The laughter stung, but Chipo kept her expression calm. She sat quietly, sipping her drink, waiting. When the moment was right, she stood and walked toward the projector set up for the evening's photo slideshow. Everyone assumed she was about to give some boring speech. Instead, she pulled her laptop from her bag, plugged it in and clicked play. Within seconds, the screen lit up, not with party photos, but with scanned receipts and documents. The sale agreement of her BMW appeared first, with her parents' signatures staring back at the crowd. Gasps rippled across the room. She clicked again, and the loan documents appeared, her mother's name printed clearly on the dotted line. Whispers exploded. "Wait, so the car wasn't theirs to sell. They took her car for Leia's wedding. How could they do that to their own daughter?" The music stopped. Even Leia froze, her face turning red as people turned to look at her. She tried to laugh it off, but the projector screen told the truth. Chipo didn't raise her voice. She simply looked around the room, her calmness cutting deeper than any anger could. "You call me useless. Jealous." She paused, her eyes sharp. "Now you know the truth." The humiliation landed like a hammer. Her parents sat in silence, heads bowed. Leia shifted uncomfortably, her smile gone. And for the first time, the same family that mocked Chipo now looked at her with respect, and at her parents with disgust. The room was frozen after Chipo exposed the truth on the projector. Relatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats, some whispering in disbelief, others shaking their heads in shame. All eyes turned to Chipo, waiting to see what she would do next. She didn't make them wait. She stepped forward, her voice steady but filled with emotion. "For months you mocked me. You laughed at me. You said I was jealous, you said I was nothing. But tonight you will understand, I am not the weak one here." Her eyes swept across the room, stopping on her parents and then on Leia. "You stole my car, you sold my hard work, and you thought I would stay silent. Well, now you will pay me back every cent, plus interest." Gasps echoed across the hall. Her parents' jaws dropped. Leia's face crumbled, the fake smile she always wore vanishing instantly. Chipo reached into her bag and pulled out a thick envelope. She placed it on the table and opened it slowly. Inside were neatly prepared legal papers, stamped and signed by her lawyer. She lifted them up for everyone to see. "These are legal documents. You signed the loan. You sold the car. The law is on my side now." Leia's hands shook as she stood up, her voice breaking. "Chipo, please don't do this, not here. People are watching." Tears filled her eyes and she tried to cover her face, but it was too late. The crowd was already whispering, pointing, judging. Chipo didn't flinch. "Yes, people are watching. And they should, because for too long you treated me like I was nothing. Now you will face the same shame you gave me." The hall was silent except for Leia's sobs. For the first time, the power had shifted completely, and everyone knew it. Chipo wasn't just demanding repayment, she was reclaiming her dignity. The hall was heavy with silence after Chipo's demand. Her parents looked broken, their faces pale as the crowd's eyes burned into them. Her mother was the first to speak, her voice trembling. "Chipo, please, we are family. Don't shame us like this in front of everyone. Whatever happened, it was a mistake. We are your parents. You should forgive us." Her father quickly nodded, trying to hold on to dignity. "Yes, people will talk. Do you want the whole community to laugh at us? We raised you. Don't drag us through the mud." Chipo's lips curled into a bitter smile. For a moment, it almost looked like she might soften. But then her eyes hardened, and her words cut through the room like a blade. "Family. Family doesn't steal from me. Family doesn't sell my dream car behind my back and then mock me for losing it. You didn't treat me like family. You treated me like a servant." The crowd murmured in agreement. Her mother's tears started flowing, but Chipo didn't stop. She pulled out another set of papers, holding them high. "Here is the notice from my lawyer. You have 30 days to repay me in full, every kwacha plus the interest I calculated. If you don't, the house deed will be seized. It's all legal. You signed everything yourselves." "I didn't." Gasps swept through the hall. Some relatives covered their mouths. Others whispered frantically. The panic was clear on her parents' faces. Leia looked like she might collapse, mascara running down her cheeks as she realized the family home was now at risk because of her entitlement. Her father tried to protest, but his voice cracked. "Chipo, please. You can't do this. Where will we go?" Chipo's answer was cold and steady. "That's not my problem anymore. You should have thought of that before you betrayed me." The room fell into silence again, the only sound being Leia's sobs and her mother's choked cries. For the first time, Chipo stood tall, no longer the quiet, overlooked daughter. The power was in her hands, and everyone knew it. The turning point had come, and nothing would ever be the same again. Exactly 1 month later, Chipo returned to the same house where her parents once dismissed her as nothing. But this time things were different. The gate opened slowly, and she walked in holding the final court documents that declared the property under her name. The family home that had been their pride was now legally hers. Her parents stood at the doorway, their faces heavy with shame. They had struggled for weeks, selling off jewelry, borrowing from relatives, even begging neighbors, all just to repay the debt they had created. Leia, once so loud and proud, now looked worn down, her eyes swollen from endless crying. The gossip had spread across Kitwe and Lusaka. Everyone knew the truth. Their reputation was ruined. Parked neatly in the driveway was the red BMW. But it wasn't the same as before. It had been repaired, polished, and returned newer and shinier than the day Chipo first bought it. The sight made her chest tighten, not from pain this time but from victory. She walked past her parents without a word, picked up the keys from the table, and slid into the driver's seat. The engine purred, smooth and strong, almost as if it had been waiting for her return. Relatives and neighbors watched quietly from across the street, whispering about the daughter who had been mocked, betrayed, and underestimated, yet had risen higher than them all. Chipo lowered the window, her eyes cold but calm. "Never underestimate the one you call useless," she said, her voice carrying through the air like a final verdict. With that, she drove away, the shiny red BMW glinting under the sun. And as the car disappeared down the road, her parents and sister were left standing in silence, broken by the very girl they once thought would never make it. Chipo had won, completely and beautifully.